Hi, I'm Aiden Taylor, and in today's episode, I'm going to be making a Krampus Tree Topper. For those of you who don't know, I am absolutely obsessed with all things spooky, and that absolutely includes Krampus. I have not done a Krampus-inspired character before, but it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time and just sort of put it off, but I've gotten a few requests from you guys, so I figured now is the perfect time. So my idea for this tree topper is to create a paper medallion that I can then mount a face onto instead of creating a full 3D head to go on top of the tree. As usual, I'm going to be sculpting the face for this character out of celluclay. So let's go ahead and get started on that. To begin, I'm going to take a piece of aluminum foil and I'm going to wad this up into a half sphere against the surface of my table. I'm then going to burnish the surface of the aluminum foil with the back of a metal spoon. This is going to help give the foil a much smoother finish for us to sculpt on top of. Like I said before, I'm going to be sculpting the entire face out of celluclay. As you all know, I love working with celluclay. It is my go-to medium for sculptures, and I've been receiving a lot of questions about celluclay and sort of my process with it. So I do just want to let you all know that I plan on making a more in-depth video about my celluclay process, but for now I'll run through a couple quick tips to help you get a better result out of celluclay. I find that adding more water than you think you need to your mixture and then thickening it up with more powder afterward leads to a smoother consistency than if you tried to get the ratio perfect on the first try. My number one trick for getting a smoother mixture is to keep mixing it. It takes a lot of mixing to really make sure that all of that paper is saturated. But using a blender or a food processor like this, it's going to help smooth the clay out a lot, as celluclay can be quite lumpy if you mix it by hand. For me personally, I prefer to mix my celluclay with a food processor that I bought solely for art purposes. I do not recommend mixing celluclay in your regular food processor. Now that I've got my clay mixed up, I'm going to use this to coat the entire surface of our aluminum sphere. Once that layer is completely dried, it's time to start sculpting up the face. So for the face, I'm going to be working in multiple layers. Celluclay works best if you work in many thin layers. I like to start with any areas that are going to be the deepest, such as the mouth and the eyes, and I'll sculpt up the top and bottom lip and around the eyes to kind of create a sunken in look, and I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go in and start building up the nose, the cheeks, and any other accent details that I want to add to the character. It's always important to remember to let your layers dry in between. You don't want to pile on the clay too thick. One, because celluclay is very soft in texture and it's easy to accidentally mess up something that you've sculpted, but working in thin layers, it also helps the drying process go a lot faster. When creating characters like Krampus who have horns or very long pointy noses, anything that's going to sort of protrude from the character, it's important to have an armature. For the horns, I'm going to drill 2 holes into the forehead so that I can insert 2 wires, and this is going to give me an armature to sculpt the horns onto so that they have a little bit more stability. Now that the sculpt is completely finished, I'm going to leave it in my dehydrator for several hours just to make sure that it's completely dried all the way through. While we wait for that to dry, let's go ahead and start working on the medallion. Now for this paper rosette style medallion, I'm going to be creating it out of a really heavyweight brown cardstock, just because I want this to be super sturdy and it's going to have to be able to support the weight of the face once we add that on later. To create the medallion, I'm going to start by cutting 3 different strips of paper all the same width, and I'm going to paint these with a decorative edging, and this is what's going to be the stripes that go all the way around the medallion. I'm now going to use a small ruler to give me sort of a guide, and I'm going to use this to crinkle fold each of my strips. So I'm going to glue them all together end to end so that I have one long continuous strip. I'm then going to apply a line of white glue all the way down the edge, and I'm going to sprinkle this with an antique silver glass glitter. Once the glitter was dried, I'm going to glue both ends of my strip together to create an almost cylinder shape. I could then press it flat, and that is going to give us our medallion. Next, I'm going to start working on the stem that's going to attach our topper to the tree. I'm going to cut a fairly long piece of some pretty sturdy wire, and I'm going to fold this in half and twist it together so that it's extra strong, leaving a ring at the top for us to glue to the back of the medallion. I'm also going to cut a small circle of cardstock, and I'm going to use hot glue to sandwich these onto the back of our medallion. Now that the base of our tree topper is done, let's finish working on the face. I'm going to start by giving the entire head a base coat of black. I'm then going to start dry brushing with a light warm gray color, and I'm going to just start highlighting the facial features. Then I'm going to go in with an even lighter shade, and I'm going to highlight just the middle parts of the face. I'm then going to mix up a peachy blush color, and I'm going to dab this onto the cheeks. Then taking my tiniest detailing brushes, I'm going to use a variety of different colors, and I'm going to start bringing in all of the detail to the face. Now that the paint job is completely done, I'm going to start adding some glitter. Starting with the horns, I'm going to apply a thin coat of craft glue, and I'm going to sprinkle this with some extra fine gold glitter. Once the horns were dry, I'm then going to start adding some clear glitter to the rest of the face, mainly focusing on the cheeks, the nose, and the outside edges of the face. Now that the face is completely done, I'm going to apply a generous layer of hot glue to the back, and I'm going to adhere this to the front of our medallion. And with that, our tree topper is finished. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you guys have any other ideas for characters you would like to see, I'd love to hear them as well. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure you have your notifications on so that you don't miss out on a new episode. You can also go and follow me over on Instagram, where I update every time that I upload. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Happy holidays!